All right, guys, in Numbers 26 today, it's a pretty long chapter, but a lot of that is because it's getting into things like lineage and it's going into, it's going back and numbering the people. So there's this will be kind of short today, but there is something that I wanted to point out. So in verse 1, he says, "And it came to pass after the plague that the Lord spake unto Moses and unto Eleazar the son of Aaron the priest, saying, Take the sum of all the congregation of the children of Israel, from 20 years old and upward, through their father's house, and all that are able to go to war in Israel." So basically, he tells Moses and Eleazar, who is Aaron's son and who has taken over the priesthood, he tells them both to basically go through and take a census of the people. So they start going through, and basically it it kind of reads like this. They take the 12 tribes, and it says, "Reuben, the eldest son of Israel, the children of Reuben, Hanok, of whom cometh the family of the Hanokites, of Palu, the family of the Paluites, Hezron, the family of the Hezronites, Carmi, the family of the Carmites. These are the family of the Reubenites, and they that were numbered of them were 43,730. So, and then it goes through the rest of the chapter, and it kind of repeats this formula, and it takes the 12 tribes, and then it goes about giving their family name, and then gives, the significant people underneath them, and then the number that were there. But there's something that I kind of wanted to point out here. Unlike other religions and things like that, the Bible takes the time to actually name specific people. And though it doesn't use dates, because they didn't use the same dating system per se that we do, they do name significant events that occurred historically. And as a result of this, we have names and dates of specific things that occurred throughout time that has yet to be refuted. Whenever I see the specificity of the Bible, them going through and actually naming names, numbering people, and so on and so forth, especially with the Hebrews and their track record of keeping track of family ties and family lineage and things like this, something that they're actually known for even today. It really kind of stands out in my head that how accurate the Bible is and how much it can be depended on. I do find it a little arrogant that some guy 5,000 years after an event that occurred in the Bible, where eyewitnesses wrote down their names and wrote down the events as to what it was specifically that occurred, and then 5,000 years later some guy will come out and say, well, that's not exactly the way that it happened. Really? I mean, that seems a little arrogant. It would be no different than me being involved in a traffic accident, and then the police officer writing down the instances that occurred. He takes both the testimonies, he writes it down, and he prepares his report, and then 5,000 years from now some guy comes across and says, well, that's not exactly what happened. It's pretty arrogant, especially when you have the specificity that the Bible does. It is so specific. It has specific names and specific dates and occurrences. Those are things that are generally not brought forth in a lie, because a lie by nature has to remain vague so that people believe it, so that it can be adopted into multiple types of interpretations. But the Bible's not that way. So something that stood out to me, and and I hope is an encouragement to you as far as the reliability of Scripture. So another thing that was interesting in here is in this chapter, in verse 59, we actually get the lineage of Moses and Aaron and their sister Miriam we get their parents' names and what tribe they were from, and so on and so forth. So something that you can look at. And then in verse 65, the last verse of the chapter, God confirms that what he had previously told them, that everybody uh, that exited out of Egypt, that all of those people would die off and would not be able to enter the land except for Caleb and Joshua, because of the fact that when they went in to spy out the land, those were the only two that brought back a report that upheld God's character and had faith. So anyway, something that I wanted to share with you guys. All right, God bless.